One of the coolest things about running a wilderness school, well, running Real Wild University, because it's a little different than a wilderness school, is that I get to interact on this really close connected level with people in a mentor-based relationship over a long period of time. But the cool thing about that is that I get to learn just as much from them as they do from me. And today, what I'd like to share with you was inspired by a talk with two students. We were driving up to a really beautiful place for just a short 2-day adventure. And here's what came up in conversation. Right now, especially I'm looking at the United States, we live in a world divided. And if you just look at the conservative, liberal kind of dichotomy there, wow, how much we've learned to almost hate each other, to not listen to each other, to judge each other. As you probably know from watching my videos, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist. So that's not where I'm going with this. But I do want us to notice that there are cultural forces in motion that really encourage us to be at odds with each other. And it seems to me that certain elements of our culture benefit from us being at odds with each other. If I can strongly label myself conservative, or I can strongly label myself libertarian or liberal, then I'm going to tend to watch certain shows, listen to certain radio programs, buy certain products. There's good reason to box us, to categorize us. But there's a price that we pay. And it's a price, forgive my language here, but it's a price of ignorance, where we become ignorant. If you think about this age we live in, this age of ultra information, the world is becoming, through the internet, through our phones that can take and stream live video across the world, it's becoming extremely transparent. And in the car ride up, I was saying, you know, it seems that we're going in this direction of immense transparency, where it's going to be very difficult to hide anything anymore. But then one of my students very wisely pointed out that with too much transparency, with that level of technological ability to transfer information, there's too much information out there. So we, as individuals, there's really no way for us to take in all that information, to filter through it, to try to figure out truth from fiction. So, what happens? We get people, news networks, newspapers, YouTubers, we get people who filter that information for us and then give us their version of the truth. And if we've aligned ourselves with a certain worldview, then I start to identify myself with. So typical one people would put forth is, if I'm very conservative, I might align myself with Fox News, and then I start to believe everything that I hear on that news channel. I start to accept their version of reality and to identify myself with it. So here's all this information you can imagine. It's filtered down through a very small little stream, through some people that decide what information we should have, what sort of slant should be put on that information, how it should be presented to us. And then we are fed that very, very selective diet. And usually that diet, they're going to benefit by feeding us a diet that keeps us identifying ourselves in that in-group, and then identifying ourselves through and with that news channel. Kind of see how it works? What if instead we came together? What if the liberals and the libertarians and the conservatives, what if actually we all want maybe the same basic things at the heart, but we can't even begin that dialogue? We can't begin that dialogue because we are so wrapped up in identifying ourselves and then in getting a certain little stream of information and believing that to be the truth. And then we enter into this state of ignorance where we can't see truth anymore. And we're at war, we're at odds with all these people around us. I'm going to get radical here and say, maybe the information coming in, maybe that's not the most important thing. Maybe the most important thing is all of us coming together as human beings and realizing the interconnectedness that we share, and realizing how if we start to act together and to work together and to open real dialogues that come out of our hearts instead of what we've been told, maybe we can change the world together. Maybe we can make a real difference. We're not going to do that under the current paradigm. We're just going to be made into people who spit back stuff that we've heard. I'm suggesting that maybe we stop tuning in to those news sources a little bit. We start questioning the things that we think we identify ourselves with. If I'm a libertarian and I am like, back to the Constitution, stop and ask, what makes the Constitution so sacred? This was drafted by some people a long time ago under very different circumstances. Is it really the best document that's ever been made? This is the argument that you'll hear. To govern human life? And even if it is the best one that's ever been made, could we create something better? The comments below, as you know, have become an incredible ground for people sharing ideas and thoughts. I'd really ask you, especially in this one, to start dialoguing with each other. You know that I try to answer every comment below, but I'm starting to see more and more of you talking with each other. And what's super cool is I really rarely see people like fighting and nagging at each other on this channel. I think all of you know it's basically a very cowardly act to be at home at your computer typing and cutting somebody down who you're never going to be face to face with. I'm asking in the comments below, can you guys talk about this a little bit? Can you share the viewpoint that you currently hold to? And then let people observe you challenging yourself and see if you can really look at those ideas that you hold and see if they really are as strong in your heart as you've felt that they have been over the years. Could we see in these comments a coming together where we start to see that we all share some real basic ideas about what makes human life worth living, about what makes human life right, about how maybe we could change our culture and change the world so that it looks a little bit different than it does right now? Please use the comments below, talk with each other, and I, for one, am really excited to see what unfolds down there. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.